Good evening, everyone. First thing I'd like to do is make sure that the public address system is working. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay, great. My name is Attorney Glenn Carberry, and as Mr. Ackley indicated, I'll be moderating the meeting tonight, as I've done on a number of prior occasions over the years. Before we begin, I want to thank all of you for your attendance this evening and to recognize the contribution which you're making to your community by participating in the business decisions of the district. I know a lot of these meetings aren't easy and they're not fun sometimes, but you're participating here, and that is very important. I also wanted to make sure everyone can hear me and that the public address system is functioning properly for the other microphones as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, good. The first order of business which we're going to have is I'm going to explain the background and the agenda for the meeting, give a little background so that things will be a little clearer as to what we're asking to vote on tonight. In May, as you know, the district held its annual meeting, and at that time the voters adopted a budget of $3.5 million and approved the imposition of a fire district tax sufficient to raise that amount of money for the fiscal year that began on July 1, 2013 and ends June 30th, 2014. Since that time, the Board of Directors of the Fire District has determined that it would like to spend more than $3.5 million by using additional funds that are available to the district. In order to do that, the Connecticut General Statutes require that a vote of the district be held to authorize the additional expenditure. That vote will be held tonight, and that's why we are here. The meeting tonight is what's called a special meeting of the district voters. Consequently, the only business that we can conduct tonight are the matters that were outlined in the notice of special meeting that was posted and advertised in accordance with statutory requirements. At this time, I would ask the clerk to read the notice that was advertised.
Poquonnock Ridge Fire District Notice of Special Meeting, Sunday, October 6, 2013. The legal voters of the Poquonnock Ridge Fire District are hereby warned and notified to assemble for a special meeting at the Groton Senior Center, 102 Newtown Road, Groton, Connecticut, 06340 on Wednesday, October 16, 2013. The special meeting will commence at 7 p.m. for the sole purposes of acting on the following matters: a presentation from the Board of Directors or its designee on a proposal to increase the amount of budgeted and expended by the Fire District during the 2013-2014 fiscal year from $3.5 million to $4.6 million without increasing the tax assessed on district taxpayers and without issuing a supplemental tax bill. 2, a vote on a proposal to increase the amount budgeted and expended by the Fire District during the 2013-2014 fiscal year from $3.5 million to $4.6 million without increasing the tax assessed on district taxpayers and without issuing a supplemental tax bill. Nancy Beckwith, clerk.
Thank you, Nancy. As a result of this notice of meeting, we'll be proceeding as follows tonight. First, the Board of Directors will make a presentation on the proposal. The Board has decided to make that presentation in written form. So copies of the proposal that is before you tonight were handed out to all voters when they checked in. But in order to make sure that everyone has adequate time to review it, we'll be making additional copies available shortly, and I'm going to ask to take a short 5-minute recess at the beginning of business to allow everyone another opportunity to read through the material. After the recess is over, we'll reconvene and we'll conduct a vote by a show of hands of all those voters in favor of the proposed expenditure of $4.6 million and those opposed to it. I will be designating 2 members of the board, Deb Montero and Peter Legnos, to count the votes, and we'll have them report on the outcome. Before we proceed with the handouts, I'd like to address some procedural questions that you may have. First, will public comment or questions be permitted on the budget proposal? And second, is the proposal subject to any amendment to increase the amount to be expended above $4.6 million? There is nothing in the Fire District statutes or the ordinances of this district which require that a public hearing be held on the budget proposal or that public comment be permitted. The statute only requires that the district vote on the proposed additional expenditures. So while there may be very important policy arguments why you might think or I might think that it would be a good idea or it would be a bad idea to have public comment and discussion on the budget, the decision is up to the Board of Directors who scheduled this meeting. The Board determined that public comment on the proposed budget would not take place this evening. The notice of special meeting reflects that decision. So there's going to be a straight up or down vote on increasing the fire district's expenditures to $4.6 million. As to the possibility of an amendment, no amendment to increase the amount of the expenditure above $4.6 million will be accepted because it would be ruled out of order as violating the special meeting notice. That notice stated that the voters would consider a proposal to increase the expenses of the district to $4.6 million without any additional taxes. So an amendment to increase expenditures further would be beyond what was in the notice and would require additional taxes. So it would be out of order. I wanted to provide that background up front so that we could have a smooth meeting going forward. With that background in mind, I'd like to ask for a motion to take a 5-minute recess to allow everyone to receive and review the written presentation put together by the Board of Directors and the Chief on the proposed budget increases.
So moved.
I have a motion from Nancy Beckwith. Do we have a second? So if any, I will all in favor of the recess?
Aye.
Say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. If you do not have a copy of the materials that were passed out, we have some additional ones, I believe, over by the clerk, and possibly a copy of some additional ones also. They're all over by the clerk. So we'll take a brief recess for 5 minutes and then call the meeting back to order. They would refer as needed to the chief for clarification. And the question should relate to the substance of the budget proposal, if there are any questions.
Elimination of most firefighting training programs. Don't firefighters, like teachers, have to have a certain number of continuing education credits?
Member of the board respond to that, or the chief?
Only.
Give him the microphone.
I'll take that. Thank you.
They only need recertification credits in certain areas, such as emergency medical training, which that would be continued. The primary point to that comment is that the firefighters are restricted from attending outside training to, like going to the Connecticut Fire Academy for more in-depth training. We continue to do training in-house, but it's basically to try to reduce overtime costs and the cost of attending the class.
Other questions relating to the proposal? Okay, at this time I'm going to appoint, well, before I appoint two members, I would ask right now that all voters.
The voters to request additional funding sufficient to prevent those reductions shall levy a tax accordingly and issue a supplemental tax bill to the taxpayers.
Okay, I understand your motion. I'm going to have to rule it out of order because it was not included in the notice of the special meeting. It could be taken up at an annual meeting or perhaps by on the duly called special meeting of the group. Thank you for your
So noted.
interest. Are there any other motions?